Today we are going to see what are the physical security controls to be implemented across the organization to tackle the risk associated with cybersecurity, risk associated with information security, whether the risk or you can say privacy related risk or challenges are there. So those kinds of controls which is related to the physical security or you can say admin department of the organization we are going to discuss today. So as per we are referring ISO 27000 ISO 27002. So we are referring this standard because this standard is the guidelines for information security, privacy management system, and the cyber security. As you can see here, this standard will be published in 2022. This you can see here, information security, cyber security, and the privacy protection, information security control. So all the information security control we are going to discuss. Today we will focus upon the physical security related controls. What are the controls should be there in the physical security? These kinds of controls would be implemented based upon the risk identification. When we have identified a risk related to the physical security, so these kinds of controls would come in picture. So there are total 14 controls. You can see there are total 14 controls in the physical security. These controls will go one by one. I will try to see what actually needs to be implemented, what standard is saying, how we are going to implement these controls. So we are going to decode the controls, and we are also going to see how these controls would be implemented across the organization. The first thing what we can see here is the physical security parameter. The first thing is the physical security parameter. Now, what does physical security parameter means? It means about the boundaries of the organizations. You can say physical security of the organization would be a part of this control. Let's go to the control and see the physical security parameter. You can see here this physical security parameter is a preventive control. Here we are going to have a preventive control. This comes under the protect phase of the cyber security, or you can say NIST framework. In the NIST framework, it comes under the protect phase. In the operational capabilities, which we are trying to see, it comes under the physical security. And actually, this is the preventive control. Now, what the standard says that we need to define the security parameter used to protect areas that contain information and other associated assets. So because in organization we may have various servers, our data center would be there, some small servers would be also there, and also people are working in your organization. The physical security, or you can say the parameter, should be defined. The first thing is to define your perimeter. Sorry, it's a perimeter. First you need to define your perimeter, and accordingly you should protect your area. The purpose behind this control is to prevent unauthorized physical access. The unauthorized person should not be allowed to enter within the organization. So the main focus would be to prevent unauthorized physical access within the organization. There are certain guidelines what has been given to you can say that needs to be implemented within the organization. Like we need to define, the first thing is to define the perimeters and setting the strength of each of perimeters in accordance with the information security requirement. Having physical sound perimeters of a building or a site containing information processing facility We should have proper physical sound perimeters should be defined. The doors and windows should be locked when unattended, and the external protection should be considered for windows, particularly at the ground level. Ventilation points should be also considered. Here we are discussing about the physical security perimeter of our organization, or you can say building where a company is there. Okay. The proper, you can say your exterior roofs, walls, ceiling, flooring, or those things are like your doors, windows should be properly locked when it is unattended, when there is no one in the organization. So these are the things should be properly logged. You can say most focus would be given on the ventilation point, because these are the, you can say, area where which are trying to exploited by the outsiders. We need to have a proper alarm monitoring and the testing for all the fire related incidents, you can say, within the organization. So these kinds of things should be there in the organization as a part of, you can say, physical security. Now another thing, another control in this is the physical entry. The physical entry within the organization should be protected, and the protection should be done with the help of electronic access control, or whether we can say a physical guard should be available at each time. So we need to have a proper restricted area when we are trying to enter in the office premises, or to prevent the unauthorized access. So we need to set up a reception area, uh, like to those who are getting the physical access can be monitored by those receptions area, or you can say uh, employee should have proper identity and access card should be allocated to the employee. For the visitor, we should have a different types of identity, or you can say access card, so that it can be, we can able to identify those by seeing the badges of the visitors, they are the visitors one. We need to give special access on the physical security if the outsiders, or you can say the visitors, are trying to access the critical area. Like suppose some of the faults are there in your data center. Now some of the person from a third party organization is coming to repair the fault. Okay, in that case, the first control is that we need to have a proper access to be given with the proper channel to the third party employee. And once the employee are entering, then we need to uh, escort them. We cannot leave them to go anywhere. The IT persons, or the persons responsible to maintaining of the data center, should properly escort him from the building, or you can say reception, to the server room. And also in the server room, they should have an eye on that person, what actually the person is doing, because these kinds of risk has been also be identified nowadays. uh, a risk was there. Let me tell you example. uh, this is a why I'm saying why the, you can say, peoples are focusing on the these kinds of risk. There is a story behind that. It's a real story. uh, a company was there, and a person, like you can say hacker, or the criminal minded person who are sitting outside the organization and watching the activity of the person, what actually the persons are doing in that organization, or you can say he's closely monitoring the behavior of the guards who is sitting there. So he, what he has observed, like around 2:30 or 3, a person a vehicle used to come, okay, with some materials, and the guard used to see that vehicle and and he used to open the gate, and the person uh, with his vehicle try to enter in the, you can say, office premises or the company premises. What he observing, what is observing for you can say quite a long time, for 1 month or 2 months, the same situations are going. The vehicles used to come, the driver of the vehicle used to salute to the guard, and guards used to uh, let him in without any asking, without the any questions and all, na? Because he know that person is coming on daily basis, so he was little uh, you can say familiar about that person. So one day what happens, the criminal minded person who is watching it from the outside the organization, at the same time he took a same type of truck and same type of same number was there on the truck, and he tried to enter in the company. Okay, he was get up was like he had done his get up like the same thing, and he saluted the guard. The guard opened the gate, and he was in. Now what happens, when he was in, then he took 3 4 5 boxes, okay, and he hide his face in behind that boxes, and go inside the floor, no? He goes inside. No one in the organization has asked where he's going, he's not going. He directly gone on the CFO's room, where his laptop was kept. He taken his pen drive, and he copied all the data and left from the day. He left from there. Okay, now you can see a bigger risk was there. A bigger risk associated was there. Every time we have also placed a guard to see these kinds of activity, to tackle these kinds of activity. But guard was two guards which have placed there was familiar with that person, so he let him in, and the person copied all his data, critical data, information, and all. He moved away. No one had done any objection on that. So for this purpose, the physical security is very important within the organization, with proper access control, and monitoring is also very important. And apart from monitoring, escorting is very important. In this, there is a, you can say, we do have a proper guidelines for the visitor also. The first thing is the authenticity of the visitors. We first used to have to identify the visitor is genuine or not. We need to take his do the entry of that visitor with proper date, name, from where it's coming, from where it's going, to whom he wants to meet within the organization, and supervise all visitors. It means that we need to escort all visitors. We should not leave any visitor in organization, because this may be a risk within the organization. Now, another thing is another control is the securing offices, rooms, and facilities. Your offices, unauthorized physical access, damage to the interference to the organization, information, and other associated assets in the office, rooms, and facilities. So we need to secure our office premises, our rooms, and facilities also. The facility what we are talking about are the data centers, or the server rooms, and all. There are proper you can say uh, these kinds of critical facilities should be avoided to used by the public, because anyone could not enter and do the things. So these controls also would be applicable. Now next control is the physical security monitoring, because we have seen in that story the physical security was there, but no one is going to monitor the thing by installing the you can say physical security barriers, or by uh, putting a guard on the gate. It doesn't mean that your system are secure. So we need to monitor these things. How we are going to monitor these things? By you can say installing contact detectors that trigger the alarm when contact is made or broken any place. We should have alarm types of system that we can place in the windows or doors. Motion detectors based upon infrared technology we can also install within the organization. Installing sensors sensitive to the sound of breaking glass, because sometimes persons are trying to break the glass and try to enter in your office premises. In that case, we can install the sensor sensitive to the sounds. It's basically the breaking of glass related sounds, so we can install within the organization. These kinds of controls what needs to be implemented to safeguard the physical safety. Now, because now we are, if you are monitoring the things, you are recording the thing, these may impact upon the PII, that is called as your personally identifiable information. Suppose you, as per the certain country law, uh, if you are recording any person's behavior or you are monitoring anything by the use of CCTV, it is not allowed at all in certain organization. Uh, in certain organization also, you can a certain country, due to the privacy related regulations. Uh, One case was there in the US itself. Amazon has installed store, okay, and the store was totally, you can say there was no human intervention in that store. You can go and try to collect your groceries and all, and you can pay online, okay, you can move away. For that purpose, what Amazon has done, Amazon has installed the CCTV camera, okay, so that people, to record monitoring and behavior of the people's what they are purchasing, whether they have made the payment or not, okay. But this was against the regulation of the privacy related regulation of the US. You cannot monitor anyone's person behavior on the CCTV cameras and all. In that case, either you need to first take the permission from the persons, or otherwise you do have a proper CCTV policy. So for this purpose, Amazon has changed all his CCTV cameras and installed the infrared related motion detector sensors and all. So privacy related concerns are there. So any monitoring or recording mechanism should be used taking in the consideration of the local laws and regulations, including data protection and the PII legislations, especially regarding the monitoring of personal and recorded video retention period. Because there are, for the government and all, they are able to install the CCTV cameras and they can able to monitor the behavior. Some agencies are there, they can do, but for individual purpose, you are not supposed to monitor anyone's behavior, or you can say uh, anyone's recording without taking a proper consent from the users. But there are various local related laws are there. In that case, we need to have a proper CCTV things, CCTV policy if we are using these kinds of things. Now, another control is the protecting against physical and environmental threats. Now, what would be the physical and environmental threats are there? There could be a numbers of environmental threats such as your natural disasters. Natural disasters include your rain, earthquake, fire. There are certain things comes under the natural disaster. So we should have a proper protection from these kinds of environmental threats or other unintentional physical threats to the infrastructure should be designed and implemented. So these kinds of controls related to natural disasters should also be taken in mind. Suppose you do have a data center in a earthquake prone zone. So in that case, it is always recommended not to have a data center in that kind of earthquake prone areas. Apart from this, we need to conduct a risk assessment on the physical security, or you can say environmental related threats. There are various civil unrest are also there. Fire is there, flood is there, earthquake is there, civil unrest is there, because sometimes uh, this is most common nowadays. Civil unrest. Every country are facing these kinds of problem of civil unrest. So we need to have a proper, you can say, risk identification should be there. Toxic waste, environmental emissions, and other form of natural disaster that can be caused by the human being. So we need to have do the proper risk assessment, and accordingly we need to have a proper control. Like physical premises, when we are constructing a physical premises, or physical premises location and construction should be taken in account of the following point, like your local geography, Okay, urban threats. These are the things we need to keep in mind. Fire, in case of fire, fire related threats are there. In case of fire, what we need to do, we need to install the proper fire detection system within the organization, or you can say also not detection only, alarm should be also there. Alarm should be triggered when a fire is there in the organization. The fire suppression system also we need to install within the organization. For the flood related things, we need to install the system which able to detect the flood. If our organization or you can say data centers are in the flood prone area, so we need to detect the flood. So we need to have proper mechanism to detect the flood, and we need to have proper water pumps should be also installed. And in that case, we need to also ensure that our data centers should not be you can say should not be located on the ground floor or the first floor. This kinds of controls also we need to take in. Now next control is the electrical surge. Electrical surge is very important. Sometimes electrical surge are there, or you can sudden change in voltage are there. In that case, that can, you can say, that may uh, destroy our servers and all. So this also we need to taken care. Apart from this, explosive and weapons. So we explosive and weapons are not allowed within the organization. We need to have a proper policy with it so that it can clearly say that explosive and weapons are not uh, uh, required to uh, carry by the employee. And also these could not be taken on the office premises. The next control is the working in the secure area. Working in the secure area, the purpose of this control is that to protect the information and other associated assets in the secure area from damage and unauthorized interference by the personnel working in these areas. Sometimes what happens, people are working in the same area, and uh, suppose you are a software developer, you are developing the software, you are working on the some critical project, and you made seated on the floor itself, and on the same floor there are also another persons are also there. So sometimes what happens, the risk related to the shoulder surfing or risk related to you can say an employee may able to see what you are doing. These kinds of risk are there. For that region, it is required to separate the things. Suppose if I am software developer team should not be seated on the floor, or you can say finance department of your organization should be also keep seated on different places to avoid these kinds of risk related to physical security. Next is the clear desk and clear screen. What does this clear desk and clear screen? Because now what happens, there is tendency of people now where people do the work, they do use various papers and all, and they used to leave the papers on their desk, and they when the times ends, office time ends, they used to move away, and all the papers or information which they have written on those papers is kept on the desk itself where they are working. So these kinds of this is also one of the risks associated with the information security. Sometimes what happens, you may write certain confidential information, or you may write your passwords on the desk on your desk. So this should not be allowed within the organization. Even clear desk rules for paper, removal storage media, removal storage media. Also, sometimes what happened, people used to leave the removal storage media containing the information on their desk itself. So clear desk and clear screen related controls say that when you leave your desk should be properly cleaned, or you can say no paper or no removal media should be there on your desk. Apart from this clear screen, clear screen is also a policy should be there. You should not keep anything on your desktop. Okay, the people do have tendency, they used to keep numbers of things on their desktop screen. So, so we should avoid to keep any information on our desktop screen, and we should enforce these things also. People may not able to save anything on the desktop screen. So this is the clear desk and clear screen policy. What happened if you are keeping anything on the desktop screen, so people may able to see. Suppose I have gone, my colleague is there. Okay, he's sitting besides me, and I am working on certain projects, and the file has been kept on the desktop itself. And I have taken a 5 minutes break. I just go for my break, and also I have not logged my system, and my colleagues has came and he opened that file, he had seen all the information, taken the pictures and all, and he move away. So your information is easily available to the persons. So this is recommended. Your screen should be properly cleaned to avoid these kinds of risk. And also your desk, your drawers, if you are keeping any confidential information on in your drawers, so all your drawers should be properly logged when you leave that place. This is the proper clear screen and clear uh, desk policy there. Now, apart from this, next control is the asset security of the premises. Now, what this says, this means that when you are sending your assets outside your office premises, suppose sometimes what happen, if the servers are not repairable at all, if the servers has any fault and it will not be repairable at your end, it needs to send to the your vendors who are you can say repairing these servers. In that case, to prevent the loss and damage and the theft or compromises of offsite devices and interruption to the organization operation, we should have a proper security, or you can say we need to ensure the security of the assets which has been gone outside the organization. So any devices which are going outside the organization, any devices used outside the organization premises which store or process information, including your mobile devices or the devices owned by the organization, or devices owned privately and used on behalf of the organization, like BYOD. Some of the organization are focusing on this BYOD also, that is called as bring your own devices. So this should be properly protected. If you are using your, suppose company has given you the laptop and you are using your laptop on the public premises. So when you will be using your laptop on the public premises, so there should be a policy within the organization that you are not supposed to leave the assets unattended in the public or unsecured places. So there should be a proper protection we need to take. Apart from this, storage media. Next control is the storage media. Storage media should be managed throughout their life cycle, from acquisition to use till transportation and till disposal, because this is a very high risk. Storage media is a very high risk. So from procurement, when you have procured the assets, or you can say acquired the assets, now you have done use, you are using the storage media, you are using the storage media. Now you are transporting, sometimes transportation is also involved, till disposal. Now we need to have a proper control. So you can ask a question like, why disposal is also involved in the storage media? Because storage media, there are certain informations are there in the storage media. If you simply delete the storage media information in the storage media, the information would not be deleted. It can be recovered by normal persons also who do have certain technical expertise. They can recover your data from your storage media. In that case, it is recommended to erase the storage media by the use of ledger, so that anyone cannot retrieve the data. Sometimes what happens now, our server do have also a life. Our storage media also do have a life of 3 to 5 or 7 years. So what we are doing, we are trying to change the servers, try to change the storage media, or you can say sometimes we are trying to upgrade the storage media, and we are moving to the next one. In that case, or you can new one. In that case, what happens? We need to dispose the older media what we do have. Okay. Now, so for the disposal of those media, we need to take proper care, or you can say protection, so that each of the data what has been contained in your storage media should be properly cleaned. So this is a pro this should be there within the organization. This process should be also there. Now, next control is the supporting utility. What does this mean? Supporting utility means in information processing facilities should be protected from power failures and other disruption caused by failure in the supporting utility. Now, this is also very good control. Okay, this is the main. You can say if you do have a server and server needs to be up 24/7. Okay, in that case, if you are relying on the power which is coming from the electricity board, when the power is not there, that means your server would be down in that case. So we should avoid also these things. For that, uh, for these risks, we need to have a proper uninterrupted power supply in place, or you can say we should have a proper backup of the power supply, so that one power supply which we are not getting, so we can up our server from the another power supply. So in that case, what organizations are doing, organizations are having the first power supply from the electricity board, that is called as EB. Another thing what they are doing, they do have their own UPS. In case this is not available, then their UPS would be up and the servers will be keep running. And in the third case, the organizations are using diesel generators. Generators are being used to produce the electricity. So these kinds of controls also we need to have within the organization as a supporting utility. And now also what happens, somewhere you can see the electricity not going for even months, 2 months, 3 months, there is no power cut. Okay, in that case also, the what happens, the peoples have a tendency they are saying no, I don't have any power cut in my area, and why should have I these kinds of backup? But that doesn't means that the power cut would not be there. It could be there. Okay, so for those purpose, we should have these kinds of facilities also, and these facilities should be also tested. If suppose electricity is not going in your area for a years, that doesn't mean you should rely on your power supply UPS and your diesel generators, which is not being used for a year at even a single time. In that case, you need to test those things by creating a situations. You need to test your system. Now, another control is the cabling security. Now, cabling security is very important controls within the organization. The first control is there. The cables of your data cables would be there. The cables related to your electricity cables would be there. The first control should be there, that these wires, your data cables and the electricity cables, your data cables and the electricity cables should not be overlapped. They can go parallelly with with maintaining by certain distances, but they cannot go overlapping each other. If there would be overlapping, then it will create a interference with interference. Due to this, our data speed would be, even you can say, slow, or you can say our data speed, we can also lose certain amounts of data due to the interference. The power and telecommunication line into the information processing facility being underground wherever possible. All these lines should be underground. No wire should be, you can say, on wall and all. It should be underground, subject to adequate alternative protection. If you do have adequate and alternative protection, then you can go. But 99% it should be underground, such as your floor cables, protectors, utility poles, if cable are underground, protecting them from accidental cuts. Why this is recommended? Because the risk associated is a cut, accidental cuts to the wire. Okay, for that purpose, we need to have a cabling security within the organization. Proper armed conduit should be there. We need to use the warm conduit. We use of electromagnetic shieldings also. Some organizations are also using these techniques of electromagnetic shieldings to protect the cable. Periodically, sweeps and inspections should be there to detect unauthorized device being attached to the cable. Sometimes what happens, people used to cut the cables, try to use unauthorized devices. So those devices, for those purpose, we need to do proper monitoring also. So cabling security is also very important. Cable should be underground. If not possible everywhere, then this should be in the conduit, and this cabling security should be monitored or audited every time. Now, next control is the equipment maintenance, because we do have in the physical security, there are various kinds of equipments what we do have. Those equipment should be maintained, or you can say maintenance is very important. If we are not doing the maintenance on proper interval of time, so sometimes, because these are the IT assets are there, some of the non-IT assets are also there. So IT assets or non-IT assets needs proper care, proper maintenance should be there. The organization should have proper preventive maintenance plan. Uh, to, you can say, we are talking about the physical security parameters, those things which comes under the preview of the admin team of the organization. Okay, like you do have a various equipments, like your uninterrupted power supply, UPS would be there. UPS would be there, batteries should be there, your power generators or your diesel generators would be there. Sometimes power alternators are there. Physical intrusion detection system should be there. Alarms are there. You must have also installed the smoke detectors or fire extinguishers for dealing with the fire related risk. Air conditioning and the lifts. So these are the things which comes under the physical security. Your UPS, battery, power generators, alternators, your physical intrusion detection systems, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, air conditioning, and the lift. So these are the things all are a part of maintenance. These require some maintenance, like your air conditioning system, your dehumidifier, which you have installed within the server rooms and all. These need maintenance. The proper maintenance should be there. We should have a proper maintenance plan, that when we are going to maintain these things, and servicing and maintenance of these devices are very important. If because we if these devices would not be maintained properly, so when there would be failures, then these would not work. So there is a bigger risk related to that. That's why proper maintenance is important. Now, next and last control in the physical security is the secure disposal or reuse of equipment. That means items or equipment containing storage media should be verified to ensure that any sensitive data and licensed software has been removed or securely overwritten prior to disposal or reuse. The equipment containing the storage media, there are certain equipment should be there, like your laptop. Let's take an example of your laptop. We do have a laptop that contains a storage media. The hard disk is being there. Now, when we are trying to dispose the laptop, in that case, we need to ensure that any sensitive data or the licensed software has been removed, because when we are trying to dispose these things, our Windows license would be there, our Office license would also be there, and there would be various licenses based upon the product what we have procured. Okay, and data would be also there. If you're normally deleting the data, then data would be there. This can be recorded by the normal persons also who has little expertise in this field. Okay, for that purpose, our data would go outside. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to first delicensing the thing. We need to remove all the license part from the laptop. After that, we need to erase the system. We need to erase the laptop by the use of various techniques, or you can say it is recommended to use the laser technique to erase the data so that it could not be recovered anywhere. So this is very important factor in this also. So these are the 14 controls are the part of your physical security controls that helps organization to prevent the risk related to the cyber security, information security, and the privacy related risk. So these are the risks associated with the physical security, or you can say admin department of the organization is going to work upon these kinds of risks. So that's all from the physical security. You do have any questions, you can reach out to me.